Jules, looking at it as Arsenal will reflect on this, those mistakes apart, where will they feel that they let themselves down?
Well, it's hard to look beyond the mistakes, of course, in a game like this, especially when you play well in the first half. If you give away goals like that against a team like City, it's unforgivable, and usually you don't come back from it. I think they did well to come back from 1-0 down at 1-1, and then that second goal, really. And I think the changes the one change that Pep makes, because he got it wrong, really. I don't think that back three to start with for City was a good idea. And as soon as there was the change in the second half, then they played much better and they were dominant, and it was very difficult at some point in the second half for Arsenal to even get out of their own half and their own 30 yards, really. So, but if you try to look beyond the mistakes, which, by the way, we saw mistakes from Ramsdale at Everton. There were one on the Brentford goal that should have been set, but again, I think Ramsdale was a bit short on that Tony goal. So this is not the first time they make those kind of mistakes. And yeah, they're a young team, of course, but you should also learn from the mistakes that you made previously in the season. If you don't learn from them, I think there's a problem somewhere. But apart from that, there's also positives there. But you saw the depth in the squads. With no Partey, for example, available, and Jorginho had to start, you basically have Trossard, and that's it. On the other hand, City can make changes, can change the formation, can bring on players like Phil Foden, for example, and you feel that again. And again, you can't compare a young team like Arsenal, who's been together 18 months, and the machine that City are after winning 4 of the last 5 Premier League titles.
Look, they're still a good side, but it's a slump.
Yeah, it's 1 point in 9.
It's a slump. And key players still not playing well. You said to Jules what was the difference, or what was the problem for Arsenal? I'd say one of the main ones at both ends of the field was decision making. Think about the Zinchenko pass as well on the edge of his box that Bernardo Silva got onto, and if he played a better ball, Haaland had pretty much a tap in. So decision making at the back, decision making from the manager to an extent with the team selection. Again, it's Monday morning quarterback, but I think Ben White hooks that into the stand probably.
Right.
He's just in centre half playing it right back. But also decision making in the final third against this City side. Eddie Nketiah, he's been great. Ali mentioned the 2 headers that he had. There was the ball Jorginho put him through in the first half, and he should see Martinelli. And he squares it. Martinelli has got a one-on-one. He doesn't see it. He goes for the shot. It gets blocked. Xhaka going through in the second half. I mean, there's 2 or 3 occasions, but Xhaka going through. He's got Trossard on his left. He dallies, and then Diaz gets an easy challenge. And when they had a 2-on-1, you can't allow... City didn't have all that. City had those chances they had and went bang.
Yep.
So the difference is decision-making in key areas of the field, and City's experience made better decisions today.
We saw Kevin De Bruyne. How good was that finish, by the way, from Kevin De Bruyne?
Not easy.
You're right.
I'm seriously, not easy. Not easy. And he hasn't had a great season, has he?
No.
And wasn't having a great game.
No, and Pep's gone back to experience. And I mean that experience, all the players have experienced. But he's gone back to big hitters in the last couple of games. I just, like Jules, I just didn't like the way they were set up in the first half. And that back line. I mean, Bernardo Silva continually going back there.
Who could have got sent off, really, for all the challenges.
Could have done. And he is one of your... When he goes in the middle of the park, you get that extra body, and he's great on the ball. So City got it right in the end.
Yeah.
But Arsenal, the questions are going to come thick and fast.
I'm asking all 3 gentlemen away from the studio at the same time. Does anyone still think Arsenal are going to win the title?
No, because...
Nedum, shut up.
Shut
up, Nedum. Put your hand down. Don't give us that rubbish. No one's believing you for a second.
But why are you asking me the question then, Dan? Bloody hell.
Well, because I know you're talking nonsense, really.
Maybe not.
Go on, Frank.
No, I really think that's the chance of Arsenal is gone since they lost against Everton because of what's going on in the midfield area, where Partey, every time he doesn't play, they're not balanced. And on top of it, we don't have the Xhaka that we used to have, and we had this season, and Odegaard as well. The implication, the involvement of those players right now is not at the same level that it used to be. And when you lose the battle in the middle of the park, you lose the game. And it's what is going on right now. they're not as good as they were. It's why maybe they're not as performant as they were.
Next up for Arsenal, Jules, away against Aston Villa. This is a big game now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive against Unai Emery as well, by the way. And I think this is where you see or not the reaction, because we said 1 point out of 9 the last 3 games. You lost to Everton because you didn't respond to how aggressive they were. You were not in the game at all. You drew the game against Brentford, where, okay, their goal should have been sad, but before that, they were better than you anyway. So the draw was a fair result. And then today, you play well the first half, we said, but you give goals away, and in the end, you don't deserve anything really from the game. So that's the reaction that you have to have on Saturday now. And yeah, they lack a bit of sharpness. I think some of them are tired because they've played so much. There's no rotation really in that team at all, certainly in the league. Because again, we said the depth in the squad is not as important as a City squad, for example. So they will have to go and grind out results now as well, which is something that they didn't really have to do in the first half of the season. So this is something that they have to do now, and we will have to see. And maybe that Villa game is almost as important as the one tonight. Not as important, but almost, because this is the reaction that they need now. And if they don't get the reaction on Saturday, then I think, it probably will be gone. But if they get a reaction, then it's still in their own hands, and I think they can still go and win it, of course.
They've got a good run. Villa, Leicester, Everton, Bournemouth, Fulham, Palace, Leeds. Yeah. You know, you couldn't really ask for a better run of fixtures to try and get your form back. Look,
It's no point. It's not throwing the towel in time.
Sure.
You're in that dressing room. You're in a title race. You've still got to play City, okay, away. You've hit the buffers a little bit. But this was never going to be the invincible side. It was never going to happen. They're just not good enough and not experienced enough to do that. So this period was always going to come. It was just a matter of when was it going to come.
Right.
So I suppose in some sense, if they can put it behind them now and crack on, that's much better than it happened late in April. You know, right towards the death or whatever it is. The season's going to go a little bit longer this year, a little bit later. But I agree with Jules. This weekend is a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
You roll your sleeves up, you pick yourself up, and you put a marker down against a Villa side that you can get at, and you say we're not going to go away. But if it's a bad result for them, I'm afraid I think it'll be difficult to pick themselves up from that game.
Obviously, Jules picked it up. The point that the depth in squad between the two teams is so different.
Yes, it is. And Mikel Arteta was asked about his team and the sense of belief. And he says, I believe even more now than I did before. Well, of course you're going to say that.
Yeah.
But he knows that he's short. He knows that when it comes to making changes, he doesn't quite have the same options that obviously Manchester City has. But more to the point, Craig mentioned experience, Frank mentioned experience. I'll go ahead and mention experience again. And the reason I say that is because this is the first time in the season, really, that you're going to start hearing noise around Arsenal that is not positive.
Yeah.
That is not patting you in the back. That Eddie Nketiah, you have been so good. That Martin Odegaard, you have been so good. No. Now there's going to be a criticism that wasn't there before and a noise of doubt that wasn't there before. This is when I think experience is important, that you're able to put that to the side, that somehow you're able to ignore that everybody that was telling you were so great, now not so much. That message is changing. Can you stop it with performances on the field? If they answer that question against Aston Villa this weekend, maybe they get this momentum back. If they don't, it's over.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.